Just the stats. Reggie Johnson, Eugene Morton coming to you from the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia, with another Mount Rushmore episode, part of our Mount Rushmore series. And we will be doing NFL quarterbacks all-time tier. And this is tier, just to give a little bit of explanation before we run into it. This tier is going to be quarterbacks that kind of span the entire, not the entire, but I would say probably going from like the 80s up till now.
Yep.
And then we'll probably do more episodes that kind of concentrate. Maybe we'll do a 90s episode and 80s episode because the quarterback stats are very different once you kind of go across the board. It's hard to have one set of stats when the game has changed so much. But without any further ado, let's get into it. And let's go full screen for the people, man. Let's go full screen for them. All right. So as we explained, there will be quarterbacks from all of from 80s, roughly about 3 to 4 decades or so here, and coming all the way up until to current day, if there is a current day quarterback on your list here. And the first list here that we're going to start with, Eugene, will be your list.
Okay.
And I don't think our list is going to be very different. And we'll watch all the way to the end, guys. There will be some differences at the end. I'll kind of go over what my difference would be in in quarterbacks, but I do think that it's hard to get over the 4 guys you picked, because you picked 4 guys and you sent that thing to me like in seconds. You took no time.
I took no time. It was the easiest,
right?
It was the easiest thing I ever had to pick in my life.
So we have your first guy here. Let's discuss him there, Eugene.
Oh, Joe. I mean, easiest,
man.
Is the first quarterback I remember watching, right? Other than Jim McMahon, I was like, from the Bears, but Montana was just the best, right? He was just, after he came down and did the drive against, the Bengals, that was it. He was my guy. He was 4-time Super Bowl champ. Kind of got one of the first guys you would think kind of got snubbed from getting left out of the 49ers, but we'll get into that later with the whole Steve Young thing. But just amazing, 4 Super Bowl wins, never threw an interception, never lost Super Bowl. I mean, what else do you say?
Goodness gracious! I mean, never threw an interception. Yikes!
Right.
Let's get into the stats here. 192 games played, quarterback record 117 and 47. Luckily, had no ties. 63.2 completion percentage, which is very high for when he played, guys. You'll see that if you watch some of these other Mount Rushmore series that we're going to do with some of these other quarterbacks. The completion percentage, that's a really high completion percentage for back then. Those numbers started with 5s back when he was playing. They didn't start with 6. So he's a very accurate quarterback. 40,551 yards, 273 touchdowns, 139 on the interceptions. 8-time Pro Bowler, 4-time Super Bowl champ, 89 MVP, 3 times Super Bowl MVP, 89 AP Offensive Player of the Year. It looks like we have a comeback player of the year. I'm not sure what that is. The PFWA comeback 86. How long has he been in the league? He was in the league. When did he get drafted? Because I'm thinking the 86 was very, very early, right? 79. Okay, so I guess it's 7 years. Goodness, Joe was in the league for a while.
Yeah, he was.
3-time All-Pro, 2-time AP MVP, 89 Pro Football Writers MVP, Hall of Fame, of course, all 1980s team. I don't even know what the Burt Ball Award is, but he won it. And what are your thoughts here on Joe Cool?
This was from my childhood. I just remember he just never looked rattled, never just always found the. I mean, granted, he did have one of the best receivers to throw to, but that's not
Hall of Famer Jerry Rice, right?
He had a good secondary. White, they had a good secondary receiver, and then Taylor. So, yeah, it just was just cool, and I always the story I remember is from the Super Bowl and how he calmed his team down. He happens to look over and he sees John Candy in the stands. I know the story's been told a million times, but just how biggest game of his life. He realized that he needed to calm his team down, and he sees, oh, look, there's John Candy. And it calms his team down just enough before he can go march down the field and win his first Super Bowl. And just from there, it's just like, you just like we talk about, don't bet against Mahomes. You never bet against Montana when he's in the Super Bowl.
You know what's interesting is I don't really have any pushback here. I feel like a lot of lists, and you had a lot of conversation the same way that conversations were starting with the Michael Jordan situation, right? Where say Jordan or LeBron, for the longest time it was Brady or Montana for a lot of people. So then I felt this one was pretty obvious, and I figured that he would be on your list. He's going to be a lot of people's Mount Rushmore. But what's interesting is he went to the Chiefs and he wasn't a bum. And I think that Joe Montana is one of those players that you can say, well, listen, like if Joe Montana got traded, like, or Joe Montana left his team, that left the door wide open, right? Anybody can get it now. Like,
Right.
don't feel like you're too uppity because it happened to Montana. It could definitely happen to you. So he went to the Chiefs, and they have great games on YouTube, guys. You can go back and check those games out against the 49ers. And I think he won. I think he won at least one of those games there, the first game they played. Let's go into our guy, Peyton Manning here. Now, let's talk about your Manning choice here. A lot of ways you could have went here. Can you hear me, Eugene?
I can. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, you want me? I'm sorry. Yeah. It was, again, I just remember it's like it's people like when they do basketball, like the comps or basketball players that battle each other. Like you had Magic and Bird. I just always remember Peyton versus Brady, Manning versus Brady, and just like again, we can go to tennis where Agassi versus Sampras. You cannot just and then when he finally got over that hump and he beat Manning, he got that first Super Bowl, which is kind of nice, and Dungy finally got got that ring. It was just amazing. But ever since he was at Tennessee, I've always watched him. I was one of those guys that I feel like to be on Mount Rushmore, obviously I have the stats, but you got to remember, like, wanted to run to the TV and watch these guys play. And he was one of the guys I wanted to run to the TV. And that started in college. So when he got, when he was with the Colts, and, obviously the arm wasn't there when he was with the Broncos, but gosh, yeah. The
cerebral, man.
Yeah,
the cerebral.
Exactly.
Look at that size head right there, man. There's a lot of football knowledge in there, man. Tell you that he's forgot more football knowledge just by the time that we do this episode, like more than I'll ever know. Let's jump into the stats here. 256 games played, 186 and 79 quarterback record, 65.3 on the completion percentage. Excellent. I love those mid 60 guys. 71,940 yards. Goodness gracious. 539 on the touchdowns, 251 on the interceptions, 14 Pro Bowl, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time NEA MVP, Super Bowl. Is that 41? Is that 41 MVP? I'm going to see if that's my Roman numerals situation is correct there. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure somebody will correct me if it's not. 3-time Burt Ball Award, 2012 AP Comeback Player. Now, I definitely agree with that. 2013 SN Offensive Player of the Year. Walter Payton, Man of the Year, 2005. That's a nice award to have there. Not a lot of guys have that on their resume. 7-time All-Pro, 5-time AP MVP, 4-time Pro Football Writers MVP, Hall of Fame All-2000s team, of course. 2-time AP Offensive Player of the Year, 4-time Pro Football Writers Offensive Player of the Year, 3 times. I'm not sure what the SN Player of the Year stands for. Somebody also correct me on that. And 2004 Alan Page Award. Now, I don't really have much to say here. This is, I mean, look at 71,940 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. 539 touchdowns. There are certain guys, and we're going to get to one at the very end of this episode. If you guys stay tuned here, at the very end of the episode, we're going to get to one where I just could not leave out the list because it's numbers like this. And they're so gaudy. And this is the situation where people, if you have a guy you like, they need to be better. Which one of these numbers is he going to beat? Which one of these numbers is your guy? If you just like take him off the list.
Which one are you picking?
Which one of these you're going to take out and say, hey, my guy is much better at this? Excellent quarterback, brought a cerebral nature to the game. And he did not, of course, because I think that was where they have Osweiler. And he was playing, and people wondered if he was going to play or if it was going to be Peyton in the Super Bowl. And I think Peyton made the plays he had to make when he had to make them. Just like this next guy that we're going to talk about, Tom Brady. Now, this is, of course, right? Tom Brady, Joe Montanas are your of courses.
Yep.
Of course, you're going to put Tom Brady up here. But I will ask you here to tell us why you had him on your mountain, even though that's kind of a dumb question.
Well, I mean, it's like one of those things. You hate sports. You hate sports. The guy, right? You respect him, but I've always been a Manning guy. I've always loved Manning. I've always liked him better. Same thing in tennis. I've always liked Agassi better than Sampras. But again, you just can't. Once the resume starts building, and once you get past, and then when he has, again, I hate to mention the Falcons, the collapse.
Man, it's too soon, bro.
But that's kind of where he cemented himself as probably one of the best quarterbacks, because the first 3 Super Bowls, you can look at those as defensive ones, right? But look at the game, even the Philadelphia loss, he had over 500 plus yards, and they still lost in the Super Bowl. So he's just the greatest. And and you can say, oh, he got lucky, and it's kind of funny. Like he would throw passes over middle, and guys would get hit right in the hands. Brock Purdy has that same exact thing. If you ever notice like that, Brock Purdy will do that too. He'll take chances, and guys will, you think it's an interception, and they just drop the ball that hits him in the hands. Brady, I don't know how many times over and over again, he would throw a ball over the middle, and a defensive guy would be hit right in the hands, and he would drop the ball. So yes, some of it is luck, but some of it, he's the greatest. He's the best I've ever seen.
Best we've ever seen. Let's add that. 335 on the games played, 251 and 82 quarterback record, 640, 64.3 on the completion percentage, 89,214 yards. Incredible. 11,000 from 100,000 yards. It's crazy. 649. Also, that number starts with a 6. Incredible. 649 on the touchdowns to 212 on the interceptions, 15 Pro Bowls, 3-time All-Pro, 7-time Super Bowl champ, 3-time AP MVP, 2007 NEA MVP, 3-time Pro Football Writers MVP, 5-time Super Bowl MVP, Hall of Fame All-2000s team, Hall of Fame All-2010 team, very impressive. 2-time AP Offensive Player of the Year, 2009 PFW Pro Football Writers Comeback Player, 2000 SN Offensive Player of the Year, 2-time Pro Football Writers Offensive Player of the Year. I'm losing my voice going down all these stats. When I was going down to Kareem. Yeah, man. When I was doing the Kareem, I might need to take a break. We'll be back, and I'll go over the rest of these stats. 2009 AP Comeback Player, 2007 Burt Ball Award. Nothing else I can say about this guy. I've gotten into a lot of Tom Brady arguments, and when I used to argue with people about Tom Brady, even though he did this, I'm a very objective. I'm a Falcons fan. I'm very objective. I used to argue and cape for Tom Brady a lot because I used to say, "Who is your favorite guy?" And what stat has Tom Brady not beat of that guy? And people used to bring up their favorite player, and Tom Brady was destroying them in every category. At what point do you give the guy credit? He's beating them in literally almost every single category there is. So it's kind of like when people used to argue back and forth, or when a lot of arguments arguing with Tom Brady. I think a lot of those arguments are pre his last Super Bowl. So then he went and won another Super Bowl with a different team to kind of bolster that argument and kind of cement himself as the GOAT, in my opinion. We're all entitled to opinions, and some people might like different quarterbacks, but your quarterback that you do like better have better stats somewhere. And I think it's impossible.
Yeah.
In this game, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're only, like I said, you could if you want to ding him between him and Montana never lost Super Bowl, and Montana never threw an interception. So there you go. If you want to, there's your argument. You want to do that.
Now, this is interesting. Because when I saw this pick, I was like, did we put this guy on the mountain already? These other 3 guys on the mountain are great. They're fabulous, man. No. And it's like, this guy, he's been in the league 5 years? These other guys have decorated years, some of them spanning decades. In 5 years, we've already got him on the mountaintop, right? Yep. Let's talk about that, Eugene. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I mean, first of all, the one game, there's been several games, right? But the game against the Chargers, against the Rams, that Monday night game, that was like, okay, if you don't think he's legit now, just watch that. I mean, I think they didn't lose the game, but what really cemented to me was the Super Bowl they lost to Tampa Bay, because he made some of the best throws I've just ever seen that were not caught, right? So and it's like, And that was I think that was when the team woke up and said, you know what? We don't need a fast receiver. We need to protect this guy, and he'll take us to the promised land every year, or he'll keep us in that conversation. So, yes, you're right. But what he's done in this short time, and just what it is, just his talent, he's the wow factor. He's the guy. Yes, the stats they're gonna catch up, and maybe he wins another 2 or 3 Super Bowls. But the thing is, he's already done it, right? He already is a 2-time Super Bowl champion. And we were
Already.
what we're expecting from Aaron Rodgers, like Mahomes is doing it. Like we were expecting that from Rodgers every year.
Multiple, right?
Multiple.
Yeah, for sure.
Mahomes he knows how to win. And then just like you can have all the talent in the world, but Mahomes knows, I know what I need to do on this drive. He I don't think he gets enough credit for how smart he is sometimes. I think, yes, we look at his arm and he kind of has that. To me, he has that the brain of Manning, and just that will to win. I'm not saying Manning didn't have the will to win, but man, Mahomes just has like that Tom Brady killer. Like, okay, I'm going to kill you right here. You're not winning this game. We're winning this game, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm gonna slow play the heck out of this drive, and I'm gonna just take your heart out, and you're not coming. You're gonna come back, but you might have a minute left, or and last year, what ridiculous game against the Bills. What's it? 14 seconds. I mean, it's just reminding me of like when I stopped doubting Steph Curry, right? Now Curry's not that's no way it's going in. There's no way it's going in. It's like, oh yeah, he is going in now. Now you're more shocked that it doesn't go in when Steph puts up the ball. The thing with Mahomes, if someone doesn't catch it, it's usually on the receiver that's fault. He catches it. He doesn't make mistakes. Very, very rare does he make mistakes.
What's interesting is, let's get into the stats real quick before they go away, and then I'll just forget everything. 74-22, 96 games played, 66.5 on the completion percentage. Love that. 28,424 yards, 219 touchdowns, 63 interceptions, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 2-time AP MVP, 2-time Super Bowl MVP, 2-time Pro Football Writers MVP, 2018 AP Offensive Player of the Year, 2018 Pro Football Writers Offensive Player of the Year, 2018 Burt Ball Award, 2-time SN Offensive Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. And I don't really have much. I struggled with this, but then I have them on my same list. So literally our last pick is going to be the last thing, only because it's kind of like when you look at the trajectory, if something changes, but that 219 to 63, you know how much I love the completion percentages and stuff like that. That ratio is just too incredible to leave him off. And the trajectory he is on a trajectory of the all-time great. So we'll see if he stays on the mountaintop, but if he continues even remotely doing this, he will. So we got Steve Young as your guy that's off to the side, and this is the only guy that's going to be different for my pick. So let's run into that real quick.
Yeah, is easy. I had to put a lefty in there. I'm sorry. I had to put a left-handed.
The lefty bias.
I had to put a lefty, and I just love that, he was just, I just love the fact, and I hope Lamar Lamar seems to be going that route too. Steve Young was just more of a running quarterback, and he got groomed into, maybe that's just being behind Montana all those years. You got to see it, but just phenomenal, right? His career was definitely cut short because of, concussion, but was just for, it's
another cerebral guy, played the cerebral game and had the running game.
Reminds me a lot of Kershaw, but when Kershaw got the victory, but Kershaw just when he finally got his chance, were just dominant in that short time. And same thing with Young. When he got his chance, he was dominant. He was the best in that short time, and won a Super Bowl, was an MVP, and again, just you can't knock it. And yes, the 49ers got crap for letting Montana go, or I can't remember, let him go or trade him. I can't remember the exact, but
I think they traded him.
I think they traded him.
I don't know for sure though, but I know he went to the Chiefs, and then people were on Young to produce at the same level, so to speak.
And he struggled a little bit out of the gate, but then man, just again, it's great that we had a left-hander that did it and actually backed it up.
Well, 169 games played for him, 94-49 record. I see these games played, and I don't see the record always adding up. So that's interesting. But 94-49 record, a 64.3 completion percentage, 33,124 yards, 232 to 107. You know, I love that right there. 232 touchdowns to 107 interceptions. Touchdown to interception ratio is important to me. 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 3-time Super Bowl champ. I didn't know he won 3. Oh, he was on the teams with Montana.
He was the backup.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
I'm sorry. He's backup. I always say the one because that's the one he won by himself.
Correct. Which he needed to get, by the way.
Right.
And that was Super Bowl 29. My Latin teacher be proud. 29 there. MVP, 2-time Burt Ball Award winner, 2-time SN Player of the Year, 2-time, I don't know what that is, that UPI Offensive Player of the Year. Pro Football Writers Offensive Player of the Year 2 times, 1992 AP Offensive Player of the Year, 2-time AP MVP, and 2-time Pro Football Writers MVP. I have this one different, so I can't say I would have put the same thing on my list. However, due to your lefty situation, I felt this had to be respected here. And this is not, you went lefty, but you didn't go crazy. Like you could have gone a couple different places. Like you didn't. Steve Young is not crazy guy, right? When we both know it as Atlanta and homers, he was going to be on one of our lists. So we're looking for that. We in Atlanta, we love putting Vic on list here.
Yes,
he's going to be on the Hall of. We're going to find a Mount Rushmore list to put Michael Vick on because we are from Atlanta and we love Michael Vick. So this is like I said, this is going to be the only difference. And the guy coming up here,
and I can't argue. I know who this is.
I did not want to put him on the list. I didn't want to do it, Eugene. I didn't want to put the guy on the list, but I felt like I was going to have to. And the Steve Young situation wasn't a bad one. You know what I mean? Steve Young's situation, when I looked at the fact that you had him on your list, I said, this could have been worse. And I do agree with kind of like the off to the side. He doesn't have the accolades. And it was interesting that you had 2 guys on from the 49ers on the list. Mr. Breeze is the guy that I had to put off to the side.
Okay.
I didn't. Who did you think it was going to be?
I thought you were going to put Dan Marino on there, which I would not have been to argue.
I looked at Marino and Breeze. And when we go over the stats, it's going to be hard. You're going to see why I put Breeze on this list. And as a Falcons fan, it pains me to put this man on any list, to put a Saints on any list. But I am an objective guy for the people here. And let's go over the stats and what my thinking was here. 287 games played, 172 and 114 quarterback record, 67.7 completion percentage. Let's say that one more time again, guys. Almost 68% there. 67.7 completion percentage, 80,000 yards, 80,358 yards, 571 touchdowns. That number starts with a 5. He's about 20 from a 6 there, 571 to 243 on interceptions. 13-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, Super Bowl. I'm gonna just say it's 40 year. I don't know if it's 44. I'm not sure, but Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champ, 2004 AP comeback player, deserved because he got done wrong by the Chargers, in my opinion. Should have kept him.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the biggest issues that that was one of the reasons that I heard that Saban left the Dolphins, because he wanted Breeze there and they didn't want Breeze in the building there. So I thought that's one of the reasons that Saban kind of left the NFL. Don't know how true that is, but I heard that. 2011, Alan Page.
I think it worked out for Saban.
Yeah, pretty good for him. and for Breeze too. Like this is one of those kind of things that it works out pretty well for everybody. Right? 2006, Walter Payton. Award winner, 2004 Pro Football Writers MIP. I don't know if that's most important player. I'm not sure what that is. 2 times AP Offensive Player of the Year. I don't want to give him much conversation because he's a Saint. I really could have just cut the show off like right after this, because so that we don't have to say make any more glowing comments about the guy.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on my off to the side guy here?
I can't argue with it. It's a great pick. He did it, and the only nitpick you could probably do if you really want to nitpick it is if they don't come out and kick that onside kick against the Colts in the second half, they probably don't win that game, right? That's the only thing, though, again, because they were not looking like a confident team going against the Colts in that Super Bowl, but they came out, they kicked that onside kick, and they were just a completely different team. But again, Breeze, he just did it for years. Again, another guy, not a tall quarterback, kind of like in that same that Steve Young kind of had
Mhm.
claw and fight their ways for yards, but man, it's just he's again, and I can't believe it's like we got to have a criteria too for these guys. We don't need to wait for 4 years, 5 years, however long it is for them to get in the Hall of Fame. Just put them in the Hall of Fame. It's like let's wait when
Yeah, the
Derek
guy's
Jeter.
going, right?
Yeah, exactly. When Jeter retired, why are we waiting? He's gonna be in Hall of Fame. Just put him in now. It's like what are we waiting for? You know, but yeah, if there's one saint, you just got to, like you said, you got to tip your hat to him. He did
Yeah,
it.
it really hurt me to do that, man. I'm just gonna be 100% honest with you. I did not want. I wanted to find every reason to not put him on the list, but there was two things that got him over the ledge, and that or over the edge, and that was the 80,000 and the 571. 80,000 yards and 571 touchdowns. You're gonna be hard pressed, ladies and gentlemen, to go into the history of the NFL and find numbers better than that. So
Yeah,
I couldn't be deemed a hater, and I had to put him on a list, but I did put him off to the side there. We will be back with more Mount Rushmore episodes. I'm probably gonna make like a playlist of these, man. And we'll put them on the old YouTube when I decide to move back into the YouTube neighborhood there. And out of no, I'm gonna keep a house in the TikTok neighborhood, and then I'm gonna
yeah.
put an apartment in the YouTube
Little
neighborhood,
apartment,
and I'll put them on a playlist, a
yeah,
little something there,
little
just to
something.
give them something because they're not really getting any attention. So, but I'll probably do like a playlist, and we'll have like a lot more of these episodes because with these Mount Rushmores, they're very easy to do because these are conversations that me and my friends have all the time about all kinds of stuff. We will have Mount Rushmores about orange juice. We will have Mount Rushmores about certain sodas. Me and my friends, we argue about this stuff all the time. So maybe between me and this show and this other show, we'll do more of these. I appreciate you taking the time out to join us. This is Just a Stats, Freddie Johnson, Eugene Morton. Check us out: Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where you find your podcast, as well as TikTok. And one day we will be back on YouTube there. So be checking for us there as well. See you next time, guys.